How do inmates find out about other inmates' crimes? That question is asked many, many, many times. And for those of us that work at corrections, well, we know a lot of the ways the inmates find out about other inmates' crimes. But a lot of the people out in the public, probably 90% of the people out in the public, they're not aware of it, and they're always curious. And they ask me, I never can figure out, they're not supposed to know that an inmate is in prison for child abuse, pedophilia, harming a child. They're not supposed to know that the other inmate is in prison for raping an elderly woman in her 80s. All these terrible crimes that occur with the elderly and children. And they're not supposed to know that they went in and tied up a family and beat them and raped the women and stole stuff from the house and ran away. They shouldn't know all that. Well, folks, for those of you not in corrections, this video is probably more for you, but we do have some people in corrections that ask this question as well. They may not be the uniform staff. They may be some of the civilian staff that don't get involved in the frontline security issues. But it's very easy, folks. Very easy. This won't be a long video, but I'm going to just run through a list of how it happens. Well, number one, the inmate gets arrested, sentenced, placed in jail, goes to court, gets sentenced, heads to prison. Gets sent to a reception center where they classify the inmate, mark them as accordingly to where they're going to be placed, minimum, medium, maximum, high risk, high profile, escape risk. A lot of this is based on their past history too. If they've been in jail or prison before, that's how they figure all this out, based on their crimes, based on how many charges they have, based on their files, their arrest record, and all these things. Now, the way it's supposed to work, or the way they want it to work, is they go to prison. Everything's hush-hush, right? We as officers, if we're going to do our job correctly, we don't need to worry about what they're in prison for. We treat everybody firm, fair, and consistent. They cause trouble. We discipline through disciplinary reports, take away some privileges if we can. We can use force if necessary to protect ourselves, property, or other people. It's all in the policies and procedures when we can use force, but we cannot use excessive force, okay? But we do not need to go around and tell other inmates what another inmate is in prison for. That's supposed to be the deal. That's supposed to be the secret. But boy, it's no secret. There's so many ways that they find out. Number one, an inmate gets a visit and says, that guy over there creeps me out. See him over there in the corner? I'm going to give you his name and his DC number. Next time you come visit me, let me know what he's in here for. Now, if his records are sealed, that might be a little difficult, but most of them are not. So there's a way to get to it through court records, through public records, through newspaper articles. I mean, come on, it's all over the place. So the family member goes home for the week, researches this guy, comes back to visit the next Saturday, and tells their loved one, hey, this dude is in for child molestation. This dude is in for beating and raping an elderly woman. This dude is in for robbing and beating an elderly man, or whatever, This guy is in for animal abuse. So they find out through that way. Number two, makes me very upset when it happens, but you have a staff member who talks too much, right? We talk about all the time. Let's talk about the weather. Yes, it's a beautiful day. It's going to rain today or whatever. But let's don't talk about other people's business, your business, or your co-worker's business. In this case, don't talk about other inmates' business. This is the officer that buddies up inmates. Oh, yeah, that dude, man, he's creepy. Shit, that son of a gun is in for 30 counts of child pornography and 1 count of going to a sting at the sheriff's department to meet a 12-year-old girl when he actually met an undercover agent. You know, just giving the whole ball of wax to the other inmates. Now what you've done is placed a lot of people in danger, folks. These inmates now might not like the guy to begin with. That's why they're asking questions, because something's wrong. They don't like this guy. Now they're going to start picking on him, beating him, or whatever. Now you're going to have a fight. You're going to have somebody hurt. You're going to have paperwork. And then what happens when the officers respond to this beating? They may get hurt in a physical altercation. It just starts a whole domino effect of problems. So that's another way that it goes. Now, another way is inmates have kept some of their paperwork in their lockbox at the prison. Now, I'll tell you, if I was in prison and didn't want anybody to know what my private business, I don't know if I'd keep it in my lockbox. But some of them do, because they're trying to appeal their case, and they're using the law clerks who are inmates who are in the law library to try to find a way to write an appeal. So inmates have broken into other inmates' property and started reading their law work. They're allowed to keep legal paperwork. And inmates have found out that way. That's another way they have found out. The news media, as I said, is another way. They could be sitting there watching something in the newspaper, because we do get newspapers in the libraries, at least here in Florida. We did. I'm sure they still do. And they go to the law library and sit down and read the newspaper and see something. You know, is there a system to screen those newspapers? Maybe they should be screened every morning. And if you see an inmate in the paper that is at your institution, you know, maybe you could not put the paper out that day. But that's an administrative issue, something that is looked at by administration. But anyway, I just wanted to get this out here. There's so many ways for inmates to find out what another inmate is in prison for. If they want to know, they're going to find out. That's the bottom line. I said I'd make it short. I'm going to cut it here pretty quick. If they want to know what you're in prison for, they will find out. Just like if they want to know where I live, they're going to find out. That's a whole nother issue. When inmates want to know where an officer or prison staff member lives, they will find out, folks, guaranteed. So I hope I answered a few of your questions. I get asked that a lot by civilians mostly. Every now and then there'll be, a new officer, of course, that's just coming into the business that doesn't know all the ins and outs yet. Will ask, how do these guys find out that he's a child molester? So, a lot of people want to know. Very simple question to answer, but a lot of people don't know. So thank you very much for watching Gary York True Prison Stories, and please subscribe. I appreciate you. Appreciate all of you who subscribe and follow me. Thank you.